Welcome back to day two of the Ascend Your Life Challenge. I am Sarah Jane McNaughton of the Ascendancy Collective, and I hope yesterday gave you something real to work with. I'd love to know how your audit went. Jump into the community and share if you haven't already. And today we're going into relationships, and I want to tell you something up front. This might be the day that surprises you the most because when most people think about relationships, they immediately think about, their partner, family, friendships. And yes, of course, we're going to look at all of those. But the relationship that is the most critical, the most important, and the one that most people never even put on the list at all is the relationship with yourself. So we're going to spend a bit of time on that today because it genuinely impacts everything else. So let's start by mapping out the landscape of relationships in your life because there are a few more layers here than a lot of us consciously think about. We have our relationship with ourselves, so our inner world, our self-talk, self-worth, your inner critic, our capacity for self-compassion. We have our intimate partnership, so a romantic relationship, a marriage, a long-term partner, or the absence of that and what that brings up for us. We have our family, the one we were born into, the one we may have created in some cases, and all of the complexity and history that lives in those connections. We have our children, if we have them. That relationship is one of the most profound and probably most challenging of all. We have our friendships. And if we're honest, most of us have very few truly deep friendships. Lots of connections, far fewer people who really genuinely know us. And often they're the ones that we choose, our friends. We have our work relationships, so colleagues, leaders, team, clients. The dynamics here really are the basis that affects our confidence, our sense of belonging, and our stress levels more than we often acknowledge. And then there's the broader connections, right? Our community, neighborhood, the world around us, how we relate to the collective and what's going on, politically, for example, religious, for example, how we actually relate to some of those bigger, broader concepts and, those bigger community aspects. All really important, right? They all form this like web of your life. And here's what I want you to understand. The quality of every single one of these relationships flows directly from one source. If you are experiencing issues in any of those relationships I just mapped out, it always comes back to the relationship you have with yourself every time and what you allow. So it might be a little confronting. And I do want to say it with enormous compassion, but the way that you treat yourself sets the standard for every relationship in your life, every single one. The way you speak to yourself internally, that inner voice, that constant commentary running in the background, and we spoke about should yesterday, for example, is the most influential relationship you have. And most of us, if we actually listen to that voice objectively, would be pretty horrified by what we say to ourselves on a daily basis. We would never speak to someone that we love the way that we speak to ourselves. And here's why this matters for every other relationship in your life. You cannot give what you don't have fundamentally. If your relationship with yourself is built on criticism, people pleasing, self abandonment, the tendency to constantly put everyone else's needs before your own, those same patterns will show up in your relationships with everyone else. You'll attract people who confirm your unconscious beliefs about yourself, not about them, about yourself. You'll tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate because somewhere inside you, you don't believe you deserve better. You'll exhaust yourself giving to others from an empty cup and then wonder why you feel so depleted and resentful. Who's felt resentful about the way that other people have treated us, about what we've put into the relationship versus what the other person has put in? So it's not about becoming more selfish or anything like that. It's about understanding that self-love, real self-love, not bubble baths and affirmations. I mean, genuine care and respect for yourself, including strong boundaries and understanding who and what you actually are, is the most generous thing you can offer the other people in your life. Because a person who genuinely loves and respects themselves brings so much more to every relationship that they're in. So I want to ask you, how is your relationship with yourself really? Do you trust yourself? Do you like yourself? Do you speak kindly to yourself? Do you keep promises to yourself? Really important when it comes to self-trust. Do I keep promises to myself? If I say I'm going to do something, do I do it? Do you set boundaries and then honor them? Who set a boundary and then allowed someone to stamp all over it? Do you allow yourself to rest without guilt? I spoke yesterday about guilt and shame, lowest vibe emotions. So when we feel guilty and shameful around our own behavior and our own self, are we allowing that to happen? Do you acknowledge your own achievements? Or do you just immediately move on to the next thing? Celebration, joy. Do we allow those things for ourselves? Or is it like, oh, okay, what's next? What's the next goal? The next thing to achieve? And if you could see, this is the big question, right? If you could see the relationship you have with yourself from the outside, would you want that relationship for someone you love? Really ask yourself that question and sit with that. If you could see the relationship you have with yourself, would you want that relationship for someone that you love? For a lot of people, the answer for that is going to be no. And that's where we start, right? We can actually do something with that. I spoke yesterday about data points. This is a data point. Okay. So, something that completely changed the way I understood relationships, including my relationship with myself, the way we relate to other people as adults is largely a blueprint that was formed in childhood. Psychologists call this attachment theory. Essentially, the very first relationship we experience with our primary caregiver becomes the template our nervous system uses for all future relationships. If we felt consistently safe, seen, loved as children, we tend to develop what's called a secure attachment style. We find it relatively easy to trust, to be vulnerable, to give and receive love. But if our early experiences were inconsistent, or we felt unseen, or if we had to earn love by being a certain way, we can develop patterns that follow us into adulthood without us knowing it. So patterns like pushing people away when they're getting too close, or becoming anxious and needy when relationships feel threatened, or shutting down emotionally to protect ourselves is obviously a big one. And you might see that with some of the some of the relationships in your life that are more like, say, colleagues or family, as opposed to friends, for example, or romantic partner. Now, none of these patterns mean anything is wrong with you. They are survival strategies. They made perfect sense at the time that they were formed. So again, when we're looking at these things, when we're bringing in awareness, it is without criticism, it's without judgment, it's on the understanding we were doing the best we could with the tools we had at the time. But what's really important is they're not permanent. They're patterns, and we can change patterns. We have to actually see them first instead of letting them run subconsciously. So when you're completing your resource sheet today and you're looking at your relationships, I want you to look with curiosity rather than judgments. Where do you notice a pattern? Where do you keep arriving at the same place? We've all had that friend that dates the same guy, right? Or the same person. They attract the same partner every time, even if that partner is no good for them. Where do you feel disconnected or the most triggered? Our triggers tell us a lot when it comes to relationships, because you'll find most of the time it's a similar trigger in each relationship type that we experience. So those like breadcrumbs, the data that are leading us to the patterns that we're ready to shift. And again, we need to bring awareness first. So in terms of levels of love and connection, at the most surface level, we have pleasant interactions, right? Polite, functional, kind, but not deep. Then there's genuine interest where we actually want to know someone. We ask questions, we listen, we're curious about their inner world. And again, this can be work colleagues, it can be romantic partner, it can be friends, family. Then there's shared experience. So these are bonds that are formed through going through things together. That those friendships that are forged in the really hard times or really great adventures, things of that nature. Then there's like the real vulnerability. So when we let someone actually see us, not the curated version, the real one. And that level of connection is where intimacy lives. And I don't always mean physical intimacy, I just mean intimacy generally. And then there's unconditional love, right? And this is really rare, profound, in my view. And this must be where you start with yourself. Most of us are operating at, one or two in far more of our relationships than we realize in level one or two, at far more relationships, in far more of our relationships than we realize. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that. Not every relationship is meant to be deep or level five, but it's worth asking yourself, where am I keeping people at surface level? Because it feels safer. And where am I craving depth and not allowing myself to have it? And in your relationship with yourself, what level are you operating at? Are you genuinely interested in your own inner world? Are you vulnerable with yourself? Do you know what you actually feel, what you actually need, what you actually want? Or is it actually kind of too scary to look at that? That's the work. Allowing yourself to unconditionally love all parts of yourself, no matter what. And that's where we set boundaries and we trust ourselves, and it filters out into absolutely everything else. So your resource for today and your action for today, in your handout, which will be down the bottom here, you've got a wheel, a relationship wheel, and there's all the different types of relationships on there. There's one blank if there's another one that exists for you that's not on there. So there's, self, partner, family, friends, colleagues, community. And I want you to color each section from the center outward. The closer to the edge, the healthier and more nourishing that relationship is. So it's like rating it. And the closer to the center, the more attention it needs. So, from a scale of 1 to 10, having a look at the relationship with, say, your partner, where would you put that? Is it a 7? Is it a 4? Is it a 10? And really just take notice. And again, just like yesterday, when you're doing this, it's not, be very honest with yourself. It's not where you want to be, where you think you should be, where you would want them to say you were at. I really want you to just feel into it for a minute and go, where is this really? Because only then can we improve it. If you want a 10 out of 10 relationship with your partner, if you kid yourself that it's currently a 10 and it's actually a 5, you can't fix that. You have to bring awareness to the gap in order to fix the gap. So be real with this and take some time to do it. So color each section, find out, and you'll have some relationship areas that are really high and some that aren't. You might have it very consistent all the way around, or you might have it all over the place. And it'll be interesting to see, of course, where some of those gaps are. And then there's a simple question underneath each one. And that question is, what is one thing I will do this weekend to invest in this relationship? I'm not talking about grand gestures. I'm just talking about one little thing. Even if your relationship area for that, that relationship is 10 out of 10, there's still something you can do to optimize and enhance it. So, are you going to call your mum? Are you going to have a hard conversation? Are you going to spend an hour of quality time with someone? Are you going to send someone a message, a card? Just one small thing that you're going to do in each of those relationships to enhance it for one person. So you're going to write that on your resource, and then you're going to get to it this weekend and do that. So in closing, relationships are the fabric of our lives. The quality of your connections, especially the one you have with yourself, determines your experience of almost everything. And the beautiful thing is that every single relationship in your life can be different from today if you choose to show up differently yourself. It starts with you. So come and share in the community. What did your wheel reveal? What did it look like? Was it smooth? Was it wonky? Was there one area that you really want to focus on more? Um, what was the relationship that you weren't expecting to see at the state it was? And what's one thing you're committed to doing this weekend? So tomorrow's day 3, purpose. Whew, my favorite one. That's really going to shine a light in you, hopefully, and I will see you then.